One of the features that I really appreciate about YouCanBookMe is that it allows me to integrate with Stripe. So for new clients, they pay when they book that first appointment. For years, I went through the frustration of having many no-shows. So when I discovered that I could integrate Stripe, it took care of that.
I'm joined today by Julie Svoboda, who has started Reiki Says Relax from Portland, Oregon. Thank you so much for joining me, Julie. Tell me a little bit about what Reiki is and why you do it.
Reiki is a Japanese technique for stress reduction and relaxation that promotes healing physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It has the same functionality as acupuncture, which, according to traditional Chinese medicine, we have thousands of meridians in our body where our life force flows. And when our life force gets stuck or congested, that's when things don't go so well mentally, emotionally, and physically. So with acupuncture, they use needles to direct that into certain areas in your body to release stuck energy. Reiki is the same functionality, only we don't use needles, we use our hands. So it's a lot more gentle, and it's a overall induces a wonderful sense of well-being and peace, and it helps, like I said, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.
So is it pressure or is it more massage?
You can actually perform Reiki without touching somebody. We can do distance healing. I work with a lot of clients all around the world where obviously I don't have my hands on them. It helps to alleviate any physical pain that might be in. It helps to quiet any of the negative mind chatter they might have. It puts unconditional love into their heart and helps them to feel grounded and connected for about a week after the session.
So tell me a little bit about how you got into this, because that's a really interesting story.
About 10 years ago, I experienced a traumatic brain injury. At the time, my employer, due to the limitations I had, they terminated my employment. And when that happened, I lost my health insurance, which was awful for me at the time because I was seeing a physical therapist, a speech therapist, an occupational therapist, and I was really dependent on them for my healing. So when I lost my health insurance, I found myself in quite a bad spot, not only mentally and physically, but also obviously financially. And I remember sitting on the couch one day thinking, Western medicine is a newer thing. What did people do thousands of years ago when they had a brain injury? How did they mitigate that? And so I started thinking about Eastern medicine. Eastern medicine's been around for 5,000 years, so there has to be something to it, right? So I started researching, and I knew from my research that Reiki involved a massage table where the client lays on the table fully clothed, and the practitioner lays their hands gently on their body, and something happens and they feel better. And so I had never experienced it myself, but I looked into it and I found a lady who is teaching what's called Holy Fire Reiki, which is the type of Reiki I do. It's same as standard Usui Reiki. Only difference is it's much more powerful, it's much more gentle, and it gets really hot to the touch. And she was teaching a class the next week. It's a 2-day weekend class. And I remember walking into this class severely depressed. Honestly, I was pretty checked out. I didn't even want to be here anymore. 2 days later, I walk out of that class, and all of a sudden, my heart is this wellspring. And I thought to myself, I want to share this with people. It would almost feel wrong to keep it to myself. So I started volunteering with the homeless folks in my neighborhood, with dementia care residents, pretty much anybody that would let me put my hands on them. And I so loved the feeling of channeling this energy. It feels as good to give Reiki as it does to receive, honestly. And in the last 4 years, a company called Rip City Review has named me the #1 Reiki healer in Portland.
Well, it's obvious how moving it is for you, but also how much you love it. So in terms of turning it into a business, how do you balance that whole thing that you are, this positive, lovely energy, with running a business that can be really hard and really difficult?
That's a really great question. There was a lot of trial and error in the beginning, but I really leaned a lot on this energy and God truly to carry me through, to mitigate the fear that I was in.
What surprised you most about running a business, or what was the kind of the hardest thing that you didn't expect?
I guess what surprised me most was how hard it was in the beginning. It really took quite a while to make enough money, really, to make ends meet. And I remember when I was early on handing out flyers downtown. I ran into a former coworker. He's like, "Oh, what you doing?" And I'm like, "Handing out flyers for my new business." And he said something like, "Oh, it's going to take you like 3 years to get into the black." And I said, "Oh, please don't say that." I said, I have rent to pay, and maybe it implanted a seed of thought in my mind. I don't know. I don't know how it goes for other business owners, but it did take me a while to really get traction. 10 years ago, nobody knew what Reiki was for the most part. I could barely give it away. Now, because of podcasts, and since COVID, people are really looking for ways to mitigate their stress, to feel better, to bring a sense of peace in their bodies.
What are your customers' acquisitions now? How do you do that now?
As I teach my students, I teach classes every month. When it comes to marketing, I've learned through trial and error, print marketing is the most expensive and it really yields the least results. Word of mouth is really going to be your best friend, that and good online reviews. I'm really grateful that I have good SEO on Google now, that if you Google Reiki in Portland, I'm probably the first thing that comes up.
In terms of business advice, if you were to give if somebody wanted to start a business today and or you're giving advice to the person who you were 10 years ago, what would that advice be?
My advice would be to have patience and to have faith. If what motivates you is helping people versus what you're going to gain financially, only good things are going to come from that. Just stay the course. That energy will reap benefits. You just have to continue at it.
Let's talk about You Can Book Me now. First of all, you've been with You Can Book Me for 9 years, which is amazing. And you have taken almost 6,000 bookings. So that is wonderful. What made you think, I need to automate this scheduling thing?
So when I first started, that was the question, how do they get a hold of me? How do they book the appointments? Initially, it was, call, text, email. And then I realized that really wasn't working for most people. And if I had an ability for them to just book something online, they would just select a time that works for them and then, fill out all their information and it would be booked. That would be easier for both of us. And so I started searching booking sites that were available. And I'll be honest, I'm not very technologically savvy. And You Can Book Me was just so easy to navigate. Initially, you do offer, it is a free service, and then you can pay a monthly fee to have extra features, which I did end up doing, and I love those extra features. But that's what I was looking for, and you guys came up, and it was such a perfect fit. And when I did start paying for the extra features, like the ability to input a buffer in between sessions, which is I cannot underscore how important and how helpful that is to have, a 30-minute leeway, because often, you never know with these sessions how long they end up going sometimes, and that gives me time to do my paperwork, to kind of clear my energy, to reset myself before the next person comes in.
Do you have different booking forms for different booking pages? How do you do that?
So yes, I have a different booking form for my new clients. With the new clients, one of the features that I really appreciate about You Can Book Me is that it allows me to integrate with Stripe. So for new clients, they pay when they book that first appointment. For years, I went through the frustration of having many no-shows. It disallows me from being able to help somebody else during that time. So it's always a loss that I would be taking. So when I discovered that I could integrate Stripe, it took care of that. The new clients page has certain terms that they agree to when booking, such as my cancellation policy. It kind of gets everything out in the open that they agree to these things when booking so that I don't have to, scramble to follow up. And then my return clients page, I allow my return clients to pay after the session because I already know them. I have a rapport with them. And on the new clients page, I also ask what your healing goals are, whereas my return clients, I already know that information. And then I also have a gift card page. I have both e-gift cards and physical gift cards that, as you mentioned, they put in the code for the gift card and then they can book their session that way. So each booking page is a little bit different.
So another question I've got is, would you rather work with a team of experts or passionate learners?
Passionate learners. In certain things you can't teach passion.
Would you rather speak at a huge conference or get a new client?
Just based on experience, I would say new client.
Last one is, would you rather be known for product quality or customer service?
With the work I do, they're both so tied together. Your customer service, your heart-centered energy is so tied to the product quality that you really can't have one without the other.
So, is there anything else you wanted to tell me that I haven't asked about or anything like that?
Just that if anybody that is listening to this that is intrigued by what they heard today, they can go to reikisaysrelax.com, or they can send me an email at info@reikisaysrelax.com, and I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you very much for joining us. I really, really appreciate it. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you.